Hello and welcome to Season of War. This morning we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite endless spell, Purple Sun of Shaiish. This morning, Games Workshop just put out an update to the most recent General's Handbook 2022 FAQ, and the main change was to the Purple Sun of Shaiish. Looking at its war scroll before the updates, the Purple Sun was cast on an 8, it was set up within 8 inches of the wizard casting it, and it moved 8 inches. Its ability End Given Form subtracted 1 from save rolls for units within 6 inches, but its most notorious ability was the fact that if you were within 3 inches of the Endless Sun, on a roll of a 1, it would slay any model. It could one-shot things like Archaon, Gyros, any of the big Stormcast dragons, and even Nagash himself. Now with the FAQ update, we still have the -1 to save rolls within 6 inches affecting units, so that hasn't changed. That's always been the primary use for the Endless spell. That's what you're reliably getting out of it when you use it. The main change was an adjustment to the auto slay mechanic. It used to be within 3 inches, but the range for the auto slay has gone down to 1 inch. And its auto slay mechanic no longer works on units with a wounds characteristic of 10 or more. Now instead of being slain, they receive 6 plus d6 mortal wounds. Half the time your 10 wound models are still going to be auto slain, and it could even one shot up to a 12 wound model. But it's no longer the auto kill that it was before, so definitely an improvement in terms of its impact on the game, but it's not been hit too hard with the nerf ban. So what does this mean for playing with or against the Purple Sun? Well, first and foremost, that change in the auto slay range going down to 1 inch is very notable. Again, that's going to be easier to screen out the sun, easier to avoid it on subsequent turns when it's moving 8 inches. You now only have to be 9 inches or more than 9 inches away to avoid it rather than 11, so a little bit easier to do. And screening out with chaff or other units is going to be easier for stuff like your heroes that you really want to avoid getting hit by that sun. Similarly, for armies that had a few big monsters, namely Stonehorns or Fire Slayers with Magma Droths, you've heard horror stories of multiple big beasts getting taken down in the same turn. Now, it's going to be much harder. Your beasts are going to have to be clumped up pretty close for the sun to be able to have a shot at slaying multiple. So easier to spread them out and maybe mitigate the impact of the sun by not giving as many options for the sun to slay. So I do think that's another positive change. And speaking of positive changes, how do we think this is going to impact the game overall? How does this change affect the Purple Sun's use? Well, I think overall this is a good change in terms of what I would like to see from the Purple Sun. If you've seen our battle reports, you probably know I hate this endless spell, so I was really hoping to see it balanced out. Now this isn't necessarily maybe as much as I would have hoped for, but I do think it's making a significant change. Again, the reduction of the auto slay range from 3 inches down to 1 is probably the biggest effect that we're seeing, and it's going to be easier to keep our units safer, which is the main thing in my books. It is worth noting the endless spell did actually go up 20 points in cost as well, so a little harder to fit in lists. I think it's still a great value at 90 points, but you're not going to see it maybe as much as you used to before. It's still great, still going to auto slay a lot of heroes, and again, the -1 to save rolls was usually the main reason it was taken. Now, just as a little case study, let's look back at one of our recent battle reports, and let's see how these changes would affect the Purple Sun's use in that game. Now, when Carl and I played Karajan Overlords versus Idoneth Deepkin, he made great use of the Purple Sun right at the start of the game, top of turn 1, and not only deployed it using the spell in the bottle to get the -1 to save roll aura out, but the Purple Sun also rolled a 1 on the Incarnate, automatically taking it down a level. This allowed Carl to later shoot at the Incarnate, also taking it down another level at the end of that turn. That meant he took down the Incarnate 2 levels in 1 turn, probably one of the only ways that that's possible in the game, and you can see it was devastating and has a huge impact. Now that the Purple Sun does 6 plus d6 mortal wounds to units with 10 or more wounds, the Incarnate is treated as having a wounds characteristic of 18, so I would have taken potentially up to 12 damage. What that means though is I don't go down a level from the Purple Sun initially. Carl has to, in this case, if he shoots at the Incarnate as well this turn, he's just doing more damage to it. It still only goes down 1 level at the end of the turn, and it's level 1 at the beginning of my turn rather than destroyed. Now, Carl could have chosen to position differently and shoot at different targets, You can see just the impact of not being able to take down the Incarnate in that first go. I mean, I guess Carl wasn't banking on it, so it was just an extra added bonus. Again, the wildness of the auto slay mechanic can be pretty crazy, and we're seeing it full force here, but it would have meant you could only maximum take the Incarnate down one level. And then later in the game, the Purple Sun comes out again and has another big impact as it ends within 3 inches of my Italian King. Carl rolls the 1 and auto slays the King again. Now looking at this situation with the recent changes, because of the positioning of the King and the Purple Sun, Carl would not have been able to get within 1 inch of the King, and I would have had my King. Carl at least would have had to dedicate more resources into taking that side of the board. Potentially my King survives or has a chance to hit or do something. But again, this had a huge impact on the game, and I would have loved to have my King survive. And now that's just one game we're looking at, but you can see how even just these small changes could have a huge impact on the table in different situations. But overall, I do think this is a great change for the balance of the Purple Sun and the game overall, mitigating some of the craziness that can happen with this endless spell. But as always, that's just my opinion, and I would love to hear yours as well. So let me know what you think of these changes in the comments below, and we'll see you soon in another video.